The time is right now. The place right here. And the show, you already know, this is the hippest trip in pro wrestling talk. This is the Chain Reaction, the program where a panel of pro wrestling pundits are prepared to pontificate on the positives and the problems of the pay-per-view, which we just perused. I'm your host, the Godfather Nate Milton, aka Nasty Nate. Welcome to our WrestleMania 37 wrap-up. I'm not alone. I'm joined, of course, by the Chain Gang here on the Chain Reaction. Of course, a co-branded presentation by the Kings of Sport and the good people at Place to Be Nation. And speaking of the good people at Place to Be Nation, bring in our first panelist. He's my co-host on the main event, which can be found over on the Place to Be Wrestling Network. And I'm sure he is here to heap all the praise on that man, Bad Bunny. Scott Criscola is here. Scott, how are you, my brother?
Wow. I would have enjoyed some Jack in the Box to celebrate Bad Bunny tonight, but no. Nate, it's always a pleasure to be here. And I thank you. And I'm excited. You know, it was a fun week of wrestling, going all the way back to Tuesday or Wednesday at NXT. And I thought it was a good 2 days. I'm pumped. I've been looking forward to this all weekend, and I'm ready to rock and roll. Bunnies or no bunnies.
Should be a fun night, brother. And of course, we have joining us from the Great White North. He is one of the true North nerds, and some would say he's Captain Canada. But let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, this man needs no super soldier serum. Brent Chittenden is with us tonight. Brent, how you feeling, man?
Good, but I could use that serum, because if it can make me a little bit like the old school Captain America one, not this new variant shit that they've got in Falcon and Winter Soldier. I want the six-pack. I want everything. But I'm good. Thanks for having me.
No doubt. And speaking of folks out here taking substances that can reveal their true character, he might be our very own John Walker here tonight. For those that last saw Chris Ely on this network, it was during the post-podcast day with our friends over at Post Wrestling on the Nubian Wrestling Advocates, and we got to see the origin story of America's favorite angry black superhero, Moderna Chris. Ladies and gentlemen, the fully vaccinated and highly opinionated Chris Ely, the professor. Professor, how are you, my man?
I'm doing well. I'm doing better after that Moderna, man. It is. If you could get the Pfizer, just for my experience, get that, man. That's all I got to say about that.
So, Brother Chris, with no love for Moderna on these streets, he is Team Pfizer all the way. But let's talk about something that brought us all together tonight on the same team, and that, of course, is the biggest event on the WWE's calendar, the biggest event in all of pro wrestling, WrestleMania 37. They back in business, Scott, from Tampa, Florida, Raymond James Stadium, a two-night extravaganza. I guess we'll talk here in a minute whether it needed to be too nice. We'll get into that. But just kind of first impressions before we get into our categories here on the Chain Reactions. Scott, your overall impression of our 2 nights of WrestleMania.
I was actually very impressed for a couple of reasons. Number one, I thought the pacing of both nights was good, considering it was like a WrestleMania length show with in your house amount of matches. So I was a little nervous we were going to get Triple H-ish 37-minute epics, who only he could pull that off. But no. But I was impressed with the pacing of both shows. Every match I thought delivered as best as it was going to, and we'll break it down obviously. But I loved it. I thought Peacock wasn't bad. I did not watch Fastlane live, so I have to admit I didn't see Peacock's shortcomings in the beginning. But looking ahead to this weekend, I thought that the stream was fine. I think maybe I was like 25 seconds or 30 seconds behind some other people, which isn't terrible, because I heard it at Fastlane it was like 4 minutes. So to to Peacock's credit, they weren't that bad. Now they got to fix the whole not starting over kind of from scratch when you're watching in the middle. Like that crap's got to be fixed. But
I have my thoughts on Peacock, and then I'll get into that in one of our categories later, Scott.
All right. So I enjoyed it. Good. It was a good 2 days. I had a lot of fun. I love WrestleMania. But we had 12 matches over 2 days. Did they have to do 6 and 6? I'm not sure. We'll talk about it, but I enjoyed it. I thought both nights were very entertaining.
Brent, what about you? What were your overall impressions of the event these past 2 nights?
I think this is the first pay-per-view in the whatever you want to call it, major event that they've done in the last few that felt like one. It didn't feel like an extended episode of Raw or SmackDown. Overall, I thought both nights went really well, much like what Scott said. I think for me, night 2 better than night 1, but that just might be to my tastes.
What about you, Chris? I know you got plenty of ammunition, so I don't need you to unload the clip right now, but just quick impressions of the first 2 nights of Mania.
I liked it this year. I like night 1 probably a little bit better because there were the only reason why me and my girlfriend were gonna try to go to Red Lobster is because the beginning of that show just wasn't doing it for me, and I was like, maybe if I could get a few of these spirits at Red Lobster, I could come on this show and be happy about doing it. But when I came back, it was like right in the middle of that Nigerian drum match. And I didn't like that, but we'll talk about that later. But I thought the show started picking up. And I came out of it satisfied. I really did.
Overall, I thought that, this show was good. It wasn't cheddar biscuits and spirits at Red Lobster good. But I thought all things considered, they did a good job. I think the biggest plus for me, and it ties into what Brent was saying, whether you agree with the fans being back or not, and that's a whole nother show for a whole nother day, I think that having those fans elevated what could be seen as, just another routine show. So I think that added something to the festivities this year. So let's go over these results real quick. And then I've been getting my reading lungs already all night because, as Scotty said, we had 12 matches over 2 nights. So starting on night 1, we kicked things off with Bobby Lashley retaining his WWE Championship by defeating Drew McIntyre. Then, in what was surely one of Scott's Match of the Year candidates, Natalya and Tamina won the tag team turmoil match by eliminating the Riot Squad, earning a chance to face Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler on night 2 for the WWE Women's Tag Team Championship. Cesaro defeated Seth Rollins. AJ Styles and Omos defeated the New Day, Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods, to become your new WWE Raw Tag Team Champions. Braun Strowman, Shane McMahon. Did it happen? Yes. Was it necessary? That's up to you. But Braun Strowman defeated Shane McMahon. Bad Bunny, Scotty's guy, and Damian Priest defeated John Morrison and The Miz. And in our main event of night 1, Bianca Belair defeated Sasha Banks to become your new SmackDown's Women's Champion. Moving over to night 2, Randy Orton defeated The Fiend Bray Wyatt in a match that I have thoughts about, ladies and gentlemen. Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax retained their WWE Women's Tag Team Championships by defeating Natalya and Tamina in my match of the night, Scotty. I'll go ahead and say that right now. Kevin Owens defeated Sami Zayn with Logan Paul. Sheamus defeated Riddle to become your new WWE United States Champion. Apollo Crews defeated Big E in a Nigerian drum fight to become your new WWE Intercontinental Champion. Rhea Ripley defeated Asuka in a singles match for the Raw Women's Championship. So 3 new champions in a row. That's something I'm sure we'll talk about tonight, fellas. And finally, in your main event, the tribal chief, the head of the table, that man Roman Reigns, defeated Edge and Daniel Bryan in a triple threat match to retain his Universal Championship. So those are the results. Now let's get into our categories. And if you're tuning in to the chain reaction or listening, this is your first time here in the program, we got some categories we go through. So we're going to start with the best match of WrestleMania. Night 1, night 2, doesn't matter. What was your overall best match at WrestleMania? And let's start with Brother Brent.
Regular listeners will know that I'm a little biased to a certain Canadian who was in the main event of night 2. That notwithstanding, Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair. It for me, it hit all of my wrestling buttons. It was smooth. It had the right amount of time. I don't think it went overtime. I think what they pulled off was really good, and I like Bianca as champ. I'm assuming some of that is Sasha getting ready to film another season of Mandalorian, so she had to go away, and this was a perfect way to ride her out for a little while. And I think with Bianca as champ, it gives us a whole new set of match possibilities that we didn't have with Sasha there for a while. Like she's a fresh champ, so.
Brent with the swerve there. He showed us his Canadian bona fides and then went to the left and picked Bianca and Sasha as his match of the night, or nights, if you will. Shout out to everybody watching us live tonight, this evening, moments after WrestleMania 37. Scotty, what was your match of WrestleMania?
I for most of the 2 nights, I had to agree with Brent. I loved Sasha Bianca. I thought it was a fun power match. And Nate, we've talked about on Main Event how I'm always a little skittish of Sasha, because I think for somebody who's not big and sturdy, that I think sometimes she takes a lot of unnecessary risks that could get her in trouble. But against Bianca, who's big but not bulky, Bianca really wrestled very smoothly. So up until about 40 minutes ago, or well, maybe 20 minutes ago, I was going to go Bianca and Sasha. But I'm thinking about it as we were preparing and waiting to go on the air. That triple threat to end the night was pretty damn amazing. Brent, your boy Edge hit all the beats tonight.
Oh,
it really did.
It was a tough choice for me. It's just, maybe this is weird, but the Bianca Sasha match really kind of reminded me of like Brett and Bulldog, like that strength versus.
I like that.
That strength versus technique, like with Bianca doing all those power moves and like showing off with her strength as well. And like, honestly, it's a very, very close match. If you ask me tomorrow, my opinion may change. So I can't disagree with your choice.
Yeah. But I think I've got to go with, by a hair, I think I got to go with Roman, Edge, and Daniel. Triple threat matches are not easy to book anymore. They used to be. What I liked about it was, Nate, they booked it like a basic triple threat match. I said it on our Place to Be Nation Twitch feed tonight. They paired off. The pairings off were good, and then they kind of started to do this and waggle around and go back and forth. Roman owned the ring, and we've talked about him a lot on the show, Nate. And he sat back and had Edge and Daniel do a lot of the work. I was very nervous that when Edge and Daniel had him in each of the submissions, I go, oh my God, we're going to end the show with an abeyance. And I'm like, oh God, no. Thank God that didn't happen. So I loved Sasha Bianca. Loved it. But I think by a hair, I got to go with the Roman, Edge, and Daniel as the best match of the 2 days.
So we got 1 vote for Sasha Bianca, 1 vote for the triple threat that we just saw. Chris, what was your match of WrestleMania?
So for me, one thing I do love about this weekend is there are a few different matches to choose from. I loved the way WrestleMania opened with the match. I didn't like the Titus and Hogan bullshit. They they got no chemistry at all. But I did like
For those keeping track at home, we're 16 minutes into the show and Chris is already here with the Terry slander.
yeah. I didn't like that, but I loved the Drew and Lashley match. I really liked that. I love the Sasha match, and I hate triple threat matches under normal circumstances, and I do think that this was one of the more creative triple threat matches I've seen in years, especially by WWE standards. So, but I'm gonna have to go with Sasha and Bianca as well. Just for it's a seminal moment, it's a landmark moment, and I thought it was good. I was one of the people, I didn't mind Michael Cole drawing attention to it. I heard somebody say that it's WWE patting themselves on the back, and what I think it was more of is,
I mean, which it is partly.
It's partly that, but it's also, what I like about it is they're acknowledging the importance of the moment, because I think WWE does have these moments like that where that history is lost, or then that significance is lost on them. Like when when Booker T and Rock had their first match in a main event for a title on a pay-per-view, they didn't even acknowledge anything, So I'm glad that they acknowledged that, and I thought the match was good. Bianca Belair is one of my UT alumnus, my fellow UT alumnus, so we got that in common. I lived in Knoxville for some years, and yeah, I just thought it was a very great match. I thought the suck on these shows sucked, but I thought the good was good enough, So I'm by WWE standards, I'm very pleased with the weekend.
Okay, so we got 2 for Bianca and Sasha, 1 for the triple threat. And here's my thing, guys. Like, I feel like those are obviously the 2 options, and they came about it in different ways. I think the Edge, Roman, Daniel Bryan match had a really strong story coming in, and they paid that story off. Whereas, we talked about this on the main event, Scotty. The story for Bianca and Sasha, they lost the plot almost the moment they started that story. And this is something that could have been this great journey, and this was the final moment, the final chapter of that journey. But we didn't get that. We got a scattershot story that led to a great match.
Yep.
And so the question is, am I going to give the props to the story that started off strong and nailed the dismount, or the story that had the best feeling at the end? And I was going back and forth on this one, fellas, and I think that I am going to give the match of WrestleMania to Bianca and Sasha for a lot of the reasons that you guys have already mentioned. Not only was the in-ring action up to par, not only did we get the significance that Chris spoke to, but I feel like, and Scotty, you, me, Brent, Chris, we all men of a certain age out here. We remember when that WrestleMania moment used to mean something. And it feels like that moment has been devalued over the years. You get callbacks to that here and there. Kofi Mania, obviously one of the biggest moments that we've had the opportunity to witness over the last few years. So there are moments that still earn that title of a WrestleMania moment, but it's more misses than hits these days. And I thought Bianca and Sasha just hit. So I'll give them my match of the night as well. Next category. Let's flip the script, gentlemen. what was your worst match or the most disappointing match? And as Brent always likes to say, those can be two different things. What was the worst match of WrestleMania for you, Scotty?
Well, surprisingly, you're going to think that I'm going to say what I think I'm going to say, but no, I'm not going to say the Miz Morrison Bad Bunny Damian Priest match, because that match was entertaining. I just didn't like where the emphasis was, but I'll get into that in another topic. But obviously, I've got to go with Randy Orton and The Fiend. It was mercifully short. I think it was like 5.5 minutes. I think we were saying on the Twitch feed. Yeah. But what happened? So Alexa Bliss starts melting or something, and Bray looks up, gets hit with an RKO. Match ends. They stare at each other. We go black. We pull the ECW lights go out. We go back, and then what? We go to the next match. Did I miss something? Like, did I miss something? What? I don't know. Did Peacock cut the feed? Like, I don't even know what I was watching. I didn't understand that. I was completely perplexed. The reason I liked it was the Miz Morrison Bad Bunny Damian Priest match was not the worst because the result was fine and I was entertained. My problem was, I might as well just say it now. My problem was it was not a celebrity match. Bad Bunny did not act like a celebrity. Bad Bunny tried to wrestle like a combination of Jushin Liger and Rey Mysterio. You know, trying to be like the next cruiserweight champion. What's he going to wrestle Escobar on Tuesday on NXT? Like, I don't get it. He was, if anything, when you're in a celebrity match, the wrestler on your team should be the one getting highlighted, not the celebrity. So I think Damian Priest was terribly shortchanged as the highlight wrestler of the babyface team, and it was all about Bad Bunny. I understand Bad Bunny was the face of the feud and the build to the match. I have no problem with that. But he's doing planches and he's like, doing psychology, which, okay. But I feel like we focused too much on Bad Bunny knowing what he was doing and not enough on Bad Bunny's team outsmarting Miz and Morrison. And that bugged me because I feel like Damian Priest, who needed a little rub for his future going forward, because we're not seeing Bad Bunny again, guys. He's gone. He's done. I mean, if he shows up on tomorrow night on Raw, then I don't. Is he actually wrestling? Like, I'll be confused. But that's why that match didn't disappoint me. It irked me that the psychology and the storytelling was not what it was a celebrity match is meant to be. That's my opinion. But for most disappointing, I got to go with Orton and The Fiend because it didn't make any sense. I don't get it. What was the end about? I don't get it. She started melting, and he gets pinned. They stare at each other, and we're done. I'm sorry. Did I seriously? At first I thought the Peacock stream kicked. I'm like, I don't even know what the hell I'm watching here.
I mean, I just mentioned about WWE kind of losing the thread of the Sasha Bianca story.
Right.
I don't know if they ever had the thread with Bray. Like, the character's cool and all this stuff, but the storytelling is it just isn't clicking.
Right.
For whatever reason. Yeah.
I don't get it. So I was very disappointed because I was expecting something more. Nothing in night one disappoint. Well, the result of the tag turmoil disappointed me, but not the match itself. But night one I thought was fine overall, and other than that Fiend Orton finish, the rest of night two was perfectly fine. There wasn't much in the way of disappointing endings to go on. But that Fiend Orton thing, at least it was first. Let's put it that way. If they put that further on in the death slot, like even before the triple threat tonight, we might have had a bit of a problem. But at least they got it out of the way quick.
Yeah. So Scotty's going with our opener for night two, Fiend and Orton. Brent Chittenden, what was your worst match of the night or most disappointing match of WrestleMania?
I'm going to go with Scott's choice in the Fiend and Randy Orton. Again, what happened there? Like it's one of those things that you kind of wonder if, like, tomorrow we're going to find out that Wyatt was injured. Like, that's what it felt like. Is like, let's just get through this as quickly as possible because we promised it, and just get it over and done with. And this was the solution. It just sort of like with all that buildup of like Orton lighting him on fire, like, you would have thought at least the Fiend would have that new look for this match, that like burnt to a crisp look that we saw for like 1 or 2 nights there, but we didn't even get that. He was just back to where he was, and back to losing, because that's the my only problem with the Fiend is, for this unstoppable monster, he sure as hell loses a lot. So yeah, and like, why was it even here? Like, it didn't further anything. It didn't do anything for either of them. It was short. It made no sense.
Yeah,
like that's time that we could have like not had, and we would have been done early and be doing this podcast much earlier. or they could have put in something else more interesting in
Chris could have
slot.
gone to Red Lobster earlier.
I know.
Yeah,
We got our
yeah.
shrimp scampi leftovers. I mean, come on.
So yeah, Bray Wyatt and the Fiend and Randy Orton. And I'm not like one of those people who hate on either of those guys. It just sort of, like I said, if they came out tomorrow and said Wyatt had injured himself training or something this week, it would not shock me in the least.
Good point.
What about you, Chris? What was your worst match of WrestleMania, or your most disappointing match of WrestleMania?
Okay, so I want to preface my comments by saying I agree with the homies, but my worst match is the Bad Bunny and Ms. Morrison and
Damian Priest. See?
Damian Priest.
He wasn't even used. You can't even remember his name. See?
Yeah.
He's forgotten.
I hated that match. Miz and Morrison are gonna forever be dorks in my eyes. They both are a couple dweebs. The match was just stupid. Oh, this is my problem with it. You give Miz the world title, he beats, even if it's a nothing Money in the Bank cash in, he beats one of your top guys in Drew McIntyre. And he has a match with Lashley where the first time he gets squashed, and the second match he fares significantly better. And on WrestleMania, he's getting pinned by Bad Bunny, which I don't care about because I don't like The Miz. I fucking hate him as a wrestling character. I've never liked him. I'm sure he's a nice guy in real life on wrestling. He's absolute garbage in my opinion. No, I'm not. It sounds like I personally hate the guy. I just think he sucks. I think he brings down. I think with wrestling.
Well, hold on, Chris. You're like, I don't think you're a terrible person. You just suck at your job and how you put food on the table.
Like, my whole thing with wrestling is I think for wrestling to work, even to me, even in 2021, I have to believe that it is real. I have to suspend my disbelief. I saw Godzilla versus Kong over the weekend. Had no clue what the fucking movie was about. But what I got in that movie was a big-ass lizard and a big-ass ape beating the shit out of each other. And I felt the world was in danger if there wasn't some kind of resolution to it. When I watch WWE and I see shit like Bad Bunny, just in there hanging with two wrestlers, that it drops the credibility of wrestling. It takes the kid in me out of what I'm watching. So I hated that match. That's actually probably one of my least favorite matches of all time as far as WrestleMania.
Damn.
Wow.
I couldn't stand that crowd.
Of all time, Chris.
Yes. I'm dead serious. I know people liked it. Just for me, it was like it wasn't a celebrity match. It was this this Bad Bunny motherfucker in there tangling with guys three times his size, and Damian Priest just cheering them on. Like, what the fuck, man?
All right, so hold on. First of all, shout out to everybody checking us out on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. Appreciate you. If you got a comment, leave us a comment. We'll see what y'all thought about WrestleMania 37. I feel like, though, Brent Chittenden, I have to stand up for the bunny, man, because Jennifer Smith isn't here. She couldn't be with us tonight. But me and Jennifer Smith, we hashtag Bunny Gang all day. Because let me tell you, Chris, I hear what you and Scotty are saying about it wasn't a celebrity match, and I do agree that they like Bad Bunny got a little bit too much, and Damian Priest ultimately got a little too less out of this equation. But I think that, like, if I'm Bad Bunny, if I'm this international superstar, if I'm the guy bringing all of these new eyeballs to this show possibly, and I'm not out there just half-assing it, I'm not out there just cashing the check. Like, the dude actually worked hard, and I got to give him credit for that. I got to give him respect for that, because we've seen celebrities come in here and just do nothing and get that check. And so I have to salute Bad Bunny for that. I do think the way that the match was executed could have been better, could have been tighter, but I'm not going to hold that against Bad Bunny, Chris. I'm not here for your rabbit slander, brother.
I'm not holding anything against Bad Bunny. Get your money made. I just think that match was garbage, and I think he was a big part of the reason why it was garbage.
See, I would say whatever issues you have with that match, I wouldn't lay them at the feet of Bad Bunny, because Bad Bunny's not the booker here. He ain't the booker, man.
Yeah, no, he's not. That is true. That's
he just look here, man. He's just a rabbit out here trying to get these carrots. Leave that man alone, Chris. For me, I'm gonna change it up a little bit, because while this match was not bad by any stretch, I actually thought the bell-to-bell stuff was quite good. I'm gonna say it might have been my most disappointing match of WrestleMania, and I had to go with the widescreen on this one, because I feel like I might take some flack for this, but I'm gonna say Asuka and Rhea Ripley disappointed me a little bit, guys.
Wow.
And Scotty, like we've talked on the main event, like how much love I got for Asuka, and how much we love Rhea Ripley, and like she's gonna be a star in this company. But I feel like there's a combination of things. Like, I think they got kind of the same jumbled build that Bianca and Sasha did, where like it could have been better. And I think it didn't feel like the moment it needed to be for Rhea tonight, as opposed to the way like Sasha and Bianca had a lukewarm build, but they had a hot finish. I think Asuka and Rhea had that same lukewarm build, but the finish was just like it wasn't cold, but it was just kind of like somebody threw it in the microwave for 10 seconds.
So
it wasn't boiling, in my opinion, Scotty.
I got an interesting point about that, Nate. You're almost comparing it to, it's almost like let's go back say 16 years to Mr. Ely's backyard at the Staples Center when John Cena defeated JBL to win the WWE title in almost the death spot of that show. A great moment for Cena, but lost in the shuffle is the fact that literally 25 minutes later, Batista beat Triple H in that to culminate that. Will keep that feud going. That's interesting, because I love the match. I did love the match, but for Asuka and Sasha, and Rhea, maybe they had a lot to live up to because Sasha Bianca was so good. Yeah, I liked it. I liked the match, but you make a good point about the temperature of the room at that moment in time.
Yeah, and again, I'm I'm not saying it was a bad match because obviously I thought it was a solid match, but it's not what I think it could have been, Scotty.
Right. Sure.
And even like Brent and I were talking in the chat earlier, like even down to the music, right? Like, and this is no shade on the young lady they had singing, but it's like, don't come out here at WrestleMania lip syncing, girl.
Yeah.
Get you a whole
Singing
to that track. You know what I'm saying? Like, where was if you're gonna fly one person out, Brent said this, fly the whole damn band out, man. Because I think that the emotion and the setting and the pageantry that Rhea needed for this to be kind of this crowning achievement, like it wasn't there. It just didn't. I don't think they quite stuck the landing on that, Brent.
No, you're right on it. It like that match to me, it was a good match, but it was missing something, and I'm not quite sure what it was. And it might have been the part of the build. It might have been the time. I don't know if they should have gone a little bit longer. It just sort of like it almost like the finish of the match was almost like a blink, then you missed it in some ways, or at least like that's how it kind of felt. But who knows? Maybe we'll get a little bit more of a feud from the two of them, and we'll get something sort of a make good a little bit later.
Yes. Because that's what WrestleMania should be. It should be the
they can't all be winners, right? Like
it should be the prologue to this feud.
12 matches on that card is and sometimes things just don't click.
And
like,
again, it wasn't a bad match. It just didn't.
Yeah.
It just didn't hit. It's like if you got a taste in your mouth for Red Lobster, Chris, and you got to end up with some Jack in the Box. It's good, but it's not the same thing, brother.
It doesn't hit the same, bro.
It doesn't hit the same.
It's not the cheddar biscuits, man. That's disappointing.
No, it's not them cheddar biscuits.
Yeah.
Let's go to our next category, blue chip stock of the weekend, and that is where we talk about the performer that most improved his or her standing in the company and in the eyes of the audience. And Bianca Belair, I believe about this time last year, she was one of our blue chip stocks. So we'll see. Is it possible to be a blue chipper 2 years in a row? We'll see. Chris, who was your blue chip performer of the weekend?
For me, it was almost, man. For some reason, I just wanted him to beat the hell out of everybody he was in the ring with. Even AJ, I wanted him to whip his ass too. I was glad he beat down New Day. What I like about that guy is if you're having like a Zoom conversation with him or a StreamYard conversation like we're having, he looks like a nice guy and you might not take him seriously, but then he's one of those dudes where you look at him and like, my God, this guy is huge, And I do think that Big Show was never my favorite guy in WWE, but I do think his presence was needed. And if he was booked right, he was always great when he was booked correctly. I thought Omos was booked correctly in that match. And I do think he's one of those guys, if they use him sparingly, if he's not beaten down, I think he did exactly what he needed to do in that match. He beat the fuck out of Xavier Woods, beat the fuck out of Kofi Kingston. Wish he would have beat the fuck out of AJ, but they're tag team partners, so I get it. It does remind me, it's reminiscent of the Owen Yokozuna tag team where Owen would, gloat after Yokozuna would just do all the work, beating everyone's ass. I'm a fan. I'm a sucker for shit like that. So that's my blue chip stock right there.
Chris going with Big Omos for his blue chip stock, and we know, Scotty, like Vince, your boy Vince loves him some big dudes. We even got a new one tonight. Colonel Aziz, I believe, is what they calling this man, the former Dabakato. Scotty, who is your blue chip performer of the weekend?
This is a tough one because a lot of people, a lot of those that won tonight were already rising. Like I can't give it to Bianca because her blue chip stock was already on the rise. Winning just keeps it going. So she was going in on a high and is still going on a high. So I can't give it to Bianca because she didn't start flat. It's hard because everybody that won, really, except for maybe Orton, can't just call him a blue chip stock. Hey, you just won a throwaway match at the start of night 2.
The up and coming young upstart Randy
Yeah.
Orton.
Like 1991 Ricky Steamboat. But I can't believe I'm about to say this, but I'm going to go with Roman. I think I understand. We understand where he is in the company, but I think tonight Roman proved that you could strap the rocket to me, and I will take this company to another level. I know you've kind of messed around with me over the last 6 years and suffering succotash and all that other nonsense, but for the first time in his career, Roman Reigns finally feels like this is his company. It's finally, he is finally the John Cena of this company. Like, he is the face. He's the face that runs the place. He is the head of the table. He proved it tonight. So I think Roman Reigns' stock is on the rise because instead of just being the boss on SmackDown, tonight he proved he is the boss, period. Sorry, Sasha. He's the other boss. I do want to give a little, believe it or not, I do want to give a little blue chip to Bobby Lashley because I didn't think anybody thought he was going to win. We had a ton of title changes this weekend, and neither of the big belts switched. First time since 2011 when Brent's boy Edge in his final match retained his title against Alberto, and of course Miz, Chris's favorite wrestler. Miz retained so you have Edge's favorite wrestler. We have Brent's favorite and Chris's favorite on the same night in Atlanta. No, I'm curious where we're going to go with Bobby from here on out. So we'll talk more about that when we look ahead in the last award. But I'm going to give the blue chip to Roman because he legitimately now is the face of this company, and he proved it tonight.
So we got one for almost, one for Roman. So take that, Jermaine from Chicago, friend of the program, but bona fide Roman Reigns hater. This is a no slander zone for Roman Reigns. Brent Chittenden, who was your blue chip performer of the weekend?
So I want to give a slight shout out to Omos because for something that. Do you guys know who Frank Welker is?
Yeah, I do.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Megatron.
Yeah. But he also does a whole shit ton of animal and monster noises for movies.
Years.
Like, yeah. Almost is his success. I just kept thinking during that match, like his rage bellows, for lack of a better term, he sounds like a monster, and I hope if his ring work can catch up to that, he's going to be somebody to watch. But on a whole, I agree with Scotty, and I think Roman is the dude. I kept thinking while watching him and just like how he was in the ring, like how far he's come even in just the last year. Like just so well done. To me, they make another Superman movie, he's General Zod. He you just kind of expect him to kneel before me.
Right.
Yeah, he's just got that presence to him. And I think tonight, any doubters or haters of the guy should shut up. Point blank. If you weren't a believer before, tonight should have been what made you one.
He was booked so perfectly in that match. They double teamed him to try to kill him. And then I like how he pinned the both of them.
Yeah.
That was perfect booking awesome, right there. Man. Perfect.
That's what should have happened too. I was really afraid when they added Bryan to that match that here we go WWE and again. And no, it was perfect.
Yeah, I think Roman's a really good choice. I think I want to give an honorable mention to somebody that really has been a blue chip for a long time, somebody that we've often talked about, Scotty. And Chris, of course, on the NWA podcast, we talked about this brother a lot. And I told the fellas before the show tonight, folks, when I saw this man come out in Tampa with the superstar entrance in his hometown, I knew he was losing. But just because you lose, it doesn't mean you can't be a blue chip performer. And so I think Big E is somebody that they need to start pulling the trigger on because he's got the look, he's got the size. Like that promo he cut on SmackDown, the go home promo. Like the guy's got it, man. And if you can't see that, then you're wasting this guy's potential. And that's not to say he hasn't done great things already with the New Day and whatnot, but you got a star on your hands. You got money on your hands. And I think if they play their cards right, maybe by the time we get to WrestleMania next year, you could set up your blue chipper, Brent Chittenden, Roman Reigns with my honorable mention blue chipper, Big E, and that'd be a hell of a match.
I agree.
I think that, to me, that's the only reason I would have pulled the belt off of him, is to start his main event run. Yeah.
But I'm gonna give my actual blue chip stock, not to Bad Bunny, despite what Chris might think. I'm gonna give my blue chip stock to somebody that I think is often underrated, and she's so good, despite what her WrestleMania record might tell you or lead you to believe. And she was the other half of kind of the consensus match of the event, and that's Sasha Banks. Because I don't think you get that great match from Bianca unless she's got somebody to dance with.
Right.
And as bad as that build was, I think in a lot of ways for Sasha and Bianca, like just we got the boss in that match last night. So I think like Sasha's somebody who is already a star, but I think she could be utilized even more. And I'm interested to see like where they go now with Bianca, where they go now with Sasha. Like I think she's got all the talent in the world, all the potential in the world. And like Brent said, man, like who knows? Maybe she takes a nice vacation to a galaxy far, far away. But when she comes back, the girl's money.
You know what? I want to say something real quick. You know what? It's funny you mentioned Sasha being the boss tonight. It did. That match last night did eerily remind me of the match Sasha and Bayley had at Brooklyn 1, where she passed the baton to her as well, the NXT women's title. That's a great comparison, Nate. I like that a lot. She felt the same. Again, we caught the. I think I said on the Twitch feed tonight. We caught that look of Sasha smiling after. When she was outside selling the pin, watching Bianca celebrate, we kind of caught Sasha smiling when we weren't supposed to. She was proud. I think she was proud. I don't disagree with your pick at all. I think Sasha deserves, but I agree with Brent. I think she's going to go off to find General Thrawn for the next few months. So I think good time, and it's good for Bianca. I think SmackDown needs to have some openings for other people. So I'm cool with that. But I like your pick, Nate. That's a good pick.
Yeah, and anybody can take a braid whip like that is good in my book. Right. So let's go to the flip side, the other side of this coin, if you will, Brent Chittenden, and let's talk about the penny stock, the performer who was devalued the most by this event. Who gets your penny stock of WrestleMania 37, Brent?
Oh, there are a couple choices here. I think at the end of the day, The Fiend. I think it's, and you know what? This probably isn't the first time that I've picked this either. It seems like I don't hate on the guy. I don't hate on the gimmick. They obviously want him to be the next version of the Undertaker. Fine, book him like that.
Right.
Yep.
It's like, how many pay-per-view losses does he have at this point?
He's got the inverted streak.
Yeah, it seems like I think he won at Mania last year because it was him and Cena, wasn't it?
Yeah.
In
Yeah,
the cinematic match. But at the same time, his win-loss record in this gimmick, it just doesn't make any sense. If you want him to be the Undertaker, make him an unstoppable monster. And they keep saying that he is, but there's no proof behind it. And it's a shame because like we know that he can go. We know that he can work, and I think he could do a great match with Randy. But I don't know if they've lost confidence in something with him or what the deal is, but they just don't want to seem to make him the monster that they keep telling us he is. And each time he does something like this, it just he goes farther down the totem pole for me.
Well, I mean, look, you're a writer, Brent, and what's kind of the old adage? If you're writing a script for TV or a movie, it's show, don't tell.
Yeah.
And they're telling us this dude is a badass, but as Jay-Z would say, Chris, we don't believe you. You need more people.
Need more people, yeah.
Chris, who gets go ahead, Scotty.
No, that was me.
No, that was Brent.
He needs to get some wins.
It's late. It's late, everybody.
Plain and simple. He just needs to demolish somebody. Like
or Brent, if you can't give him wins, give him time away, because that's part of what made the Undertaker the Undertaker.
Yeah.
Yep.
Is that he wasn't absorbing all these losses week after week. He would disappear, and then when you least expect it, he come back, and we don't have that right now with Bray.
Yeah, there you go. There's a way of doing it.
That's a good choice, Brent. Chris, who's your penny stock of WrestleMania?
For me, it's a 3-way tie. I would go with Bray Wyatt, but the only thing is I don't think the company ever believed in him, so I don't think his stock was ever, he is what he is. But for me, it's easily Miz and Morrison, because they look like a couple dweebs after that Bad Bunny match. I think they're up there. They're on the same level as the Kanellis, Mike Kanellis, where I just can't ever take them seriously again. And actually, I hate, as much as I hate saying this, I want to say Drew McIntyre.
Wow.
I think his time was last year. It came and went, and unfortunately, it didn't happen the way it should have happened. But I don't think he's been booked good over the last year. I think they booked him kind of like a bully. They book him in a way that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to me. And it's kind of, and the thing with I think WWE really doesn't know how to book baby faces. And I don't think they know how to book heels. I don't even think they know what a good guy and a bad guy is. Like with Roman Reigns, there's no reason to hate that guy. He goes out, he says he's going to beat somebody's ass, and then he goes out there and he beats somebody's ass. Same with Bobby Lashley. Like, why do you hate these guys outside of them doing what they say they're going to do? You know what I'm saying? Drew McIntyre, I think the right person won that match. I think Bobby Lashley is just too hot right now to be taking any titles off of them. And I think it speaks to the way Drew has been booked. And again, it's not really his fault as much as it is just the nature of the beast, right? He was never able to capture that lightning in a bottle that he captured at the Royal Rumble last year, when he eliminated Brock Lesnar. I don't think he's ever been able to duplicate that moment again.
And part of that was his WrestleMania moment last year came in an empty arena.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
so we didn't have that culmination. I think he's done as best as he could, like you're saying, right, Chris. But yeah, as much as we talked about it the other night on the main event, Scotty, Bobby was just too hot right now. And coming off of winning the title and him and MVP, it's a great combination. I think as much as you would think Drew would be the guy going into that match, it's too soon to kind of derail what you got with the Hurt Business.
Right. And it would have felt inauthentic, right? It would have felt like them trying to duplicate what they couldn't do last year.
Mm-hmm.
So I do think that making Lashley win, and maybe he kind of give Drew some credibility back. You know what I'm saying? Kind of have him in some serious feuds. Don't have him doing this bully shit, because it doesn't make him a good guy. You know, have him out there, turn him into a sympathetic babyface when necessary. Have him win and do stuff like that. He'll be all right.
Scotty, who gets your penny stock of WrestleMania?
Yeah, here's the thing for me. Before I do that though, I want to say that Chris made a point about not even mentioning Bray for the penny stock because he had no stock worth at all. I don't know if that was Brent or Chris.
That was me.
It was you, Chris. Yeah. I said the reverse about, because I know a lot of people would think that Cesaro's blue chip went up, but I'm withholding judgment on that until we figure out where they go with him from here.
Yeah.
We were talking in the Twitch feed about the possibility he's Roman's next guy on May 16th for Backlash. We'll see. Looking for an opponent for him. My penny stock, and I got to agree with, I'm going to take one of Chris's guys, and sorry, my good friend Callum McDougall, who runs our Twitch feed and is one of our best talents on the Wrestling Network. But I got to go with Drew McIntyre because I'm not sure what's next for him. I feel like he's got some unfinished business with Roman, but I don't see him going to SmackDown right now. I don't know if we get a Drew Bobby rematch at Backlash, because technically Drew didn't tap. He pulled the old Steve Brett Chicago 97 finish. So he didn't admit, he didn't tap. So I'm going to give my penny stock to Drew, which sucks because I love Drew to death, but I'm not sure what's left for him at the moment. Or is he going to kind of troll the upper mid card for the next several months until maybe he gets built back up again? But I don't want to put Bray because I think his stock's crap anyway. I have to agree with Chris on that point. I don't think there's any stock to put any money on. So I'm going to give my penny stock to Drew McIntyre because I'm not quite sure where we go from here with him for the foreseeable future. Time will tell over the next 2 weeks of Raws what the story will be for Backlash, if he does get a rematch with Bobby, or if he does end up going to Friday nights and look at the Chief in the face and says, "We got unfinished business from you beat me at WrestleMania in MetLife, and we had our match at Survivor Series. You owe me." So we'll see what happens. Should be interesting. But at the moment, I got to give it to Drew because things are a little unsettled with him right now creatively.
As for me, I got two people, and I'm going to split this penny in half. So I think that's where they're at right now. They each get half a penny stock. The first person that I'm going to give half a penny to is Braun Strowman.
Oh, God.
What the hell happened to Braun Strowman?
I forgot that match even happened.
He's
what
so
happened
worthless.
to Braun Strowman?
I completely forgot about him because I probably would have made him part of that too. Yeah.
Yeah, so Braun Strowman gets half a penny just because he has been so devalued, I think, over the past year, maybe even longer, if we go back and actually look at it. But then the other person who gets half a penny from me, despite the fact that she was one of my baby faces of the night, Brent, because she interrupted Terry. And anybody that interrupts Terry goes up a notch in my book. But that was
Poor
Bayley.
Terry.
Yeah, poor Terry.
Poor Terry.
Because I think with Bayley, just as much as Sasha kind of carried that women's division in the past year, Bayley was right there with her. And it felt like after the Sasha feud, they've done nothing with her. And it's like, man, like she's so good. And I feel like she was just kind of starting to really embraced that heel character with the Karen haircut. Like, why is Bailey on the bench? You know, there's so many more ways that you could utilize this talent. And so maybe now that, you know, Bianca's the champion, we go back to that Bianca Bailey feud. But I don't know, man, because they really have not given us a reason to be invested in that character since that Sasha feud. So Bailey and Braun get a half of a penny each.
She was pretty funny this weekend, though. Bailey, she embraced the soccer mom blouse and everything. She's
great, and it's like, use her more because she's great.
Right. Nobody gave Terry a penny stock, or is that stock not viable?
Hey, he's getting better.
Getting better.
I think my thing with Terry is I feel like we're forget whatever happened in the past happened. That's fine. But I think it's not fine, but you know what I mean. I think at this point, it's just that I think the bloom is off that rose. I hate to say that. Mm-hmm. Is it even worth putting him on TV? I mean, I think they should. It is Hogan, but it is Terry. But I do think it's time to kind of put him away for a while and stop sticking him out there when we don't really need it. So you're right.
I get it because it was in Tampa, so you got that connection there. But you're right. Like there's a law of diminishing returns. And I think, you know, again, like people make mistakes. And I think had Terry handled that differently, maybe his reception would be different. But yeah, like I think we can't miss you unless you go away, Terry.
Exactly.
So go away, Terry.
He could have gone to his kid's party.
Yeah. Brooke Hogan gets the blue chip stock of the weekend for throwing that COVID pool party with that man Low-Key and DJ Nick Hogan.
That's
the party of the year.
That's where Chris is bringing the cheddar biscuits. He's bringing it to the
party. But our final category of the night, fellas, is Pay It Forward. And for, again, people new to the show, Pay It Forward is where we look at what happened over the event and kind of spin it forward to maybe some storylines or matches that we'd like to see in the near future or maybe even long-term booking to next year's Mania. So, Brent Chittenden, let's start with you first, brother. Pay it forward, man.
I'm not sure where we go with Roman next. That's the one that I'm really curious about. And with Edge and Bryan. Part of me says Edge and Bryan go away for a little while. But Charlotte's waiting in the wings. And I'm really curious to see. Rhea is probably the one because they have history. I see that definitely coming up. And like, sign me up. I'm all for that. But her and Bianca could be something really cool too. So when she comes back, I think we're going to see some really good matches on either side of the coin. I'm just curious to see where it lands. So there's that. And, man, let's see what they do with the Fiend next. Now that his girl has melted in a big satanic Jack in the Box.
I was looking around for Papa Shango because that gave me Papa Shango Ultimate Warrior vibes.
Wouldn't it be great if he comes out just like it's been Papa Shango all along?
It was Shango all along.
It was Shango all along, Austin.
Chris Ely, pay it forward, brother.
You know, I love Edge, but you know what he looks like to me? He looks like an old, broken down musician whose star is fading, whose girlfriend's star is on the rise.
That's very descriptive.
I think he needs to go away for a little while. I love Edge. He's great tonight. But Lashley, Roman, and Big E, I think, are the guys for the foreseeable future. Lashley makes me feel ashamed of my goddamn self, man. Like, this dude, how old is he? Like 47, something like that. And he's in way better shape than me. Just he looks like 10 years younger than me. The guy is just a freak of nature. Roman is great. And then Big E, I'm much like what you were saying, Nate. I do think that Big E, I think he's graduated past the geek titles. I think it's time to put him in the world title picture. He needs to win the Universal title, or at least wrestle for the Universal title, or wrestle for the WWE World title. I think his talent is getting wasted away, feuding with guys like Apollo, who I think is kind of firmly cemented in the mid card.
Okay. I'm gonna go here next, Scotty, because I want to piggyback off of some of the things that Chris said in terms of paying it forward. I feel like Big E is a guy that we need to finish off this feud with Apollo and Colonel Aziz, but then he needs to go ahead and let's start strapping the rocket to this guy because he's got. He has everything you would think Vince would want. A big dude, but he can work and he can talk, man. Like he's somebody you can, we've always said this, Scotty. He's somebody you can put on these talk shows. He's somebody you can put on Good Morning America. He's somebody you can put on the Today Show or Jimmy Fallon or Jimmy Kimmel. And so I think they need to start the plans for that right now. Something else Chris mentioned earlier was the AJ and Omos team. And he made a reference to just the chemistry between the two, and like Owen and Yokozuna. I'll go you one better, Chris, and I'll say they could be setting AJ and Omos up because we know how much the WWE loves their tag teams that can't get along because they're mismatched. It's a wacky buddy comedy. I'm thinking we're getting a little Shawn and Diesel 2K 2021 in here, where eventually Omos is going to get fed up with AJ's nonsense, with AJ's I was going to say Chris's favorite word, but I'm not going to go there tonight. But we're going to get that turn, and we're going to see what Omos can do in the ring. And if he's going to have singles matches with anybody, Scotty, I think AJ's the guy because AJ can get a good match out of damn near anybody. And so that's something I'm looking forward to. And then finally, Bianca. Like, I think out of everybody, Bianca Belair is going to be one of the biggest stories coming out of this Mania. And I'm intrigued to see where she goes next. And then my last thing, Scotty, as I pass the baton to you, is Peacock. We talked going into WrestleMania. That's going to be one of the big stories coming out of this event. I'm interested to see what the fallout and the response for Peacock presenting WrestleMania from the fans out there is, because I think, for the most part, the stream was solid. It held up, looked good, but there's things in terms of the user interface that they need to work on. They need to tighten up because it's not as user friendly as the network was, and I think eventually that's going to be a problem. So Scott Criscola, you gotta wait for the title. Pay it forward.
Yes. Let me talk about Peacock for a minute. I love your thinking, Nate. You're exactly right. Now, I'm in the TV business, and I know the WWE situation well. They're one of the clients in my company. I don't work with them personally, but the WWE network was worked by.
I'm sure, Scotty. No offense, but I'm sure your employers were like, "We can't let Scott within 50 feet of Triple H. He's not going to get any work done."
Please, sir, go behind the red line. I did run into him in the elevator at work years ago when him and JBL were doing a tribute to the troops interview, and he was in one of our headshot studios, and I got to stand in the elevator with him. I'm sure he was hoping the elevator would move faster, but no. Let me talk about Peacock for a minute. So the WWE Network interface was worked by MLBAM, which is MLB Advanced Media, and they work with MLB's website and a bunch of other streams. And as we've known, guys, for 7 years, the WWE Network was a little wonky in the beginning, but they worked their kinks out fairly quickly. And the interface for WWE Network is amazing. And I'm sad to see it go. God bless our international friends that listen to your show here and our shows on the network and everywhere else. They could still use the network, but we here have Peacock. They are being quick with their putting of archive stuff up. Raws are already back to 96. They have most of the WWE pay-per-views, most of the WCW pay-per-views. They've even actually put some ECW pay-per-views up, and that was a promotion that I thought they would chop the crap out of. And from what people have told me, they've kind of left the ECW pay-per-views alone. Now, the ECW TV, like Sandman on a crucifix, we'll see what happens there. But yeah, in terms of the interface, it ran smooth. I had no one moment I had a little spinning, but not too bad. But again, if you're I watched Mania from the beginning because it was Mania, but like last night, I couldn't watch Mania from the beginning. I got home, I was with my mom, and I when I got home, Bianca and Sasha was just starting, and I'm like, I don't want to watch this. I want to watch from the beginning. Well, you can't. So I actually did not watch Bianca and Sasha till this afternoon. I just put on a movie or whatever and let WrestleMania finish. Between now and May 16th, when Backlash happens, Peacock's got to figure that out.
Right.
They've got to figure that interface out somehow, and I don't know how they're going to do that. So we'll talk about more about Peacock as the weeks progress. But in terms of actual workers, and we'll elaborate, of course, Nate, more on this coming week's episode of Main Event. But I will say now that I am curious about Roman's next opponent. I agree with all of you that Edge and Daniel, I think, were here for this feud. There's no need for them to stick around. Like, Edge's Rumble win was cashed, and he lost, and that's it. Time to move on. You're not feuding with Orton anymore. You can move on and finish up. I think he's done. Kind of same thing with Daniel. So I am looking forward on the SmackDown side to Roman's next opponent. Let's talk about the two big champions. Who's Roman got next? And I agree, who's Bianca got as her first big opponent? I don't know if we're going to see a Sasha rematch at Backlash because that's a long ways down. We got almost 7 weeks for that, 6-7 weeks. So we're not sure what the future holds there. But I'm curious to see what Bianca will have in her hand. I'm assuming it's going to be like Carmella or somebody like that. I think we're going to see Bianca get some established wins and then move on. And then, maybe come up with a big opponent by the time we get to SummerSlam. Roman, I'm not sure. SmackDown's in kind of a weird spot when it comes to baby faces right now. And I agree with you, Chris. WWE's not sure how to pump up good guys or pump up bad guys. It's just guys and gals. So I'm not quite sure what Roman has on his plate at his table between now and, again, mid-May when we get to the next pay-per-view. Raw, obviously Bobby. Like, what's next for there? Because does Drew get a rematch? Because he didn't tap out last night. So is he get his rematch at Backlash or somewhere on Raw? Do we get a Rhea? Does the Rhea Asuka story continue? And do we clear that up? Clarify what's going on there. So for me, guys, the two big belts on both shows, both women's belts, and then Bobby and Roman. What is the next 7 weeks hold between now and May 16th, the next pay-per-view? I'm looking forward to that and where we slide future opponents in. Is Bobby and Drew done? Roman has finished off Daniel and Edge. So does Edge get his one-on-one match? That's the one thing, Brent, your boy Edge, may still have in his back pocket, is we have not seen Roman Edge yet. So that might be something we think about. But for me right now, Nate, I think it's the two pairs of champions, Roman and Bobby, and Rhea and Bianca, what the future holds in terms of the roster for their future opponents.
Yeah, and I think, just kind of wrapping things up, fellas, like going into this event, I wasn't the most enthused for WrestleMania, just partly because of the booking, also because, we're still in the midst of a pandemic, despite what a lot of these after parties that are going on probably right now might tell you, Scotty. But
That's what I'm saying. That's You know who we're talking about.
Yeah, somebody put an APB out for our dear friend Jennifer Smith. But I think coming out of WrestleMania, I'm a lot more positive about where the WWE is going than I was going in, and I think that's a good thing for them. So that's WrestleMania 37. We did it, 2-night extravaganza, of course, headlined by the excellent match between Bianca and Sasha on night 1, and then our triple threat between D-Bry, Edge, and Roman Reigns on night 2, with a little bit of that great, amazing Nia Jax and Tamina razzle dazzle sprinkled on top, Scotty.
You are very lucky. You are not getting any cheddar biscuits if I had to sit and watch Natalya and Tamina win the belts. I'll tell you right now.
But before we get out of here, I want to give a shout out to everybody who tuned in tonight. And if you're listening in the future, we appreciate your support on the Kings of Sport Patreon as well as Place to Be Nation. Scotty, where can the good people out there hear more from you and let them know a little bit about PTBN?
Thank you, sir. You can find me on Twitter at PTB Podfather. You can also follow the brand on Twitter at Place to Be Nation. The PTB Wrestling Network is always cranking with content, with which Nate is quite prevalent. We had a great week. We had our main event preview. We previewed NXT and WrestleMania. This show, if you're listening to it on PTB, thank you. If you're listening to it on the Kings of Sport Patreon, come on over. We have a lot of fun. Main event will be back this week at its regular slot on Friday morning on the Podbean feed. Myself, Nate, and our good friend, the Conscience Steve Willie, who's probably been asleep for quite a while now. He will be back, and we'll get more into this. Nate, I look forward to getting more into the pay it forward portion of our discussion this week, because we'll definitely delve more into what the future holds for a lot of our superstars after these 2 days. But follow us. We got a lot of great shows. Place to Be podcast, all the other great classic stuff, the PTB Pop Experience, the Jenny Position at 1 o'clock in the morning, and of course the the North South Connection podcast feed. So follow us all. It's a lot of great stuff, and of course Kings of Sport Patreon, $5 gets you in. But if you want to sit with Nate and I, it doesn't hurt.
It's the VIP section. VIPs only. Chris, speaking of VIPs, where can people hear more from you, brother? And shout out your socials and let them know about that Moderna lifestyle you're living right now.
Oh, yeah. Well, so I definitely got those days off of work. So that helped. I Zoom to work anyway. So, I mean, take little victories where I could get them. But you can find me on Twitter at KMEasyDoesIt. I know me and Brent, and you too, Nate, we've been talking about doing this Justice League Snyder Cut review for a little while. I think I'm going to have to set that up this week because, I'm surprised at how fresh that news still is, like with all this Warner Brothers news that comes out like seemingly every day. So I definitely want to get that off my chest. But yeah, so those are in the immediates. The immediacy is that Justice League Snyder Cut review, and the KM Easy does it on Twitter. And I'm working on my dissertation. That'll be released publicly when it's time.
Yes, Chris working on his dissertation about the greatness of one Mike the Miz Mizanin out here. Brent Chittenden, let the people know about the True North Nerds and where they can find all of the work that you do, my friend.
You can find us on most podcast systems under True North Nerds. Talk about comics, movies, a lot of MCU stuff as of late because, pandemic has slowed down movie releasing, especially here in Canada. Our movie theaters are not open, so we take what we can get. Beyond that, on Mixcloud under Black Donnelly Radio, I host a show called The Dark Side. It comes out every Thursday. You can stream it however when you want. If you are interested in goth and industrial music, that's a place to go and hear me talk about it and play it.
Good stuff, brother. I thought The Dark Side was a show about John Walker after he takes that super soldier saying. The ending of that episode, ladies and
Oh,
gentlemen.
dude.
If you haven't seen The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, get caught up before next week because
that was unnerving.
yes, as good old JR would say, business is picking up.
Yes. Yeah.
For me, you can find me on Twitter. Some of you are watching me on Twitter right now at in the number 8 MOZAIK at Nate Mosaic. You can check out the Kings of Sport. Patreon.com/the Kings of Sport. $5 gets you in the door, as Scotty said. If you want to pay more, we won't stop you. If you are into the comic stuff, as Chris and Brent have mentioned, you can check me out over on the DC TV Podcast Network with the Black Lightning Podcast with myself, Vanessa Shark, who has been on the Patreon, Brittany Monet, who has been on the Patreon, and of course, Clement Bryant, who has been on the Patreon as well. We got a big episode of Black Lightning coming up this week where we've got the backdoor pilot for Painkiller. And if you want to hear more about that, Andy Babak and myself did an interview with Jordan Calloway, the titular character of Painkiller, Khalil Payne. So if you want to check that out, head over to the DC TV podcast webpage or the YouTube if you want to check out the video of me and Andy talking to Jordan Calloway and me getting on Jordan for his Dodger support because we got no love for the man in LA after we lost that lead last year, but we're not here to talk about that, Scott Criscola. But yeah, at in the number 8 MOZAIK, Nate Mosaic on Twitter, and you'll find links to all the shows that I do on there as well. So that's gonna do it for this edition of the Chain Reaction. Appreciate you guys hopping on tonight to chop up the granddaddy of them all, the biggest night in wrestling. And now I feel like we can all take a much needed nap until next week. It's been a week.
Yeah.
So,
straight through. A lot of matches.
Yes. So for Brent, for Chris, and for Scott, I am the Godfather, Nate Milton. Thank y'all for watching. If you're out there in Florida, be safe. And again, like somebody put that APB out for Jennifer Smith. That's gonna do it. Rest in peace, DMX, and we'll catch you next time on the Chain Reaction.